Welcome to the Bible Hour, ladies and gentlemen. I am your host, Owen J. Batstone, coming live from the Park End Studios on day 107 of 60 of Reading the Bible Live. Welcome on in. Ooh, lots of links posted to all that's available. Must be Neil. Good evening and welcome to Park End. We will be reading from the New Living Translation. That's true. We begin tonight with Ezekiel 25:1. No, it's still Neil. Your admin tonight is Neil. Chris Henry in the house. Hello, Neil. Ricky B in the house. Diane Robbins in the house. 3 generations gain here. Again here. Watching tonight. Oh, in your house. No way. All right. Well, the youngsters picked an interesting one because we're going to be getting to Ezekiel. Where are we? 28, I think. The devil. But I'll talk as if children are listening. Alright, let's get the Bible up. Always a good idea. Holy Bible. Put that there. Sam Whittington in the house. Don't forget to check out Sam Whittington's video from the Sunday service. Safe Families. A worthy cause. And we are currently looking at the judgment to the surrounding nations. Which is basically 25 to 28, and 28, and 29, and 30. Petty Bar in the house. Welcome on in. Ladies and gentlemen, I got a big announcement to make at 9 p.m. I don't think there's been a bigger announcement on planet Earth than the announcement that I'm going to make to all of you lot at 9 p.m. Sam, your talk on Sunday was really moving. It's so good to be with you at Park End, and you know they always say it from the comfort of your home. This mythical shadow, always from the comforts of home that Christian civilization have made up, made us comfortable. I'm Marcus Nielsen. I've lost it. Of course it's Jesus. Jesus. Really looking forward to being with you. And you coming here one day. And I tried to catch a rabbit. And of course my dad said, "You won't catch a rabbit. There's grass everywhere." Ladies and gentlemen, it's not Marcus, it's Owen. It's still me. Sam Whittington, email me for further info. Sam Whittington at safefamilies.uk. Wow, they even dropped the co. Oh no, that would be a website, wouldn't it? Ladies and gentlemen, we will be beginning in 6 minutes. Did something happen to Owen while I was away? I morphed into Marcus Nelson from St. Mark's Gibraltar. Ben Ricketts in the house, totally confused. Sam Winterton, apparently there are 23 Mondays until Christmas. That'll take us to about Obadiah chapter 2. Alright. Oh, I just realised I didn't bring a Bible Hour mug. I've got some rubbish lion. Two announcements. One for Car Park Communion and one for Bible Hour. Coming up in 4 minutes' time. Sam Wedderden, what would you like to have for Christmas? Chris Henry, what would you like to have for Christmas? I bet you've got some interesting plans for Christmas on what you would like to receive. Obviously in honour of Daniel, says Diane. Oh, yeah, the lion. I was wondering what you were responding to. The lion, yeah. We'll get to Daniel today, you watch. Park End Admin, remind me that my two announcements are for Bible Hour and Car Park Communion, please. Remind me in about 3.5 minutes. Sam Whitterton, I have everything I need. In brackets, in Neil R. This time last week, the memories. What day is it? I think it's Monday. Last Monday was something. Oh, was that, has it been a week since the 100th day? Oh yeah, that's why it's day 107. Yeah. Oh, we should have done another celebration for 1 week after a week ago. Parkin Hammond, she has me. Yep. Chris Henry, sorry to disappoint. Not really. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome on into the Bible Hour. If you're just coming in, we are live at 5. End of the Old Testament party. Hey. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're just trying to let in, please find the Old Testament, the best testament, some say, and the book of Ezekiel and chapter 25, where we have been learning about what happens to the ancient church if they just run away from Jesus. And now we're learning about what the surrounding nations are going to get for disobeying Jesus and harming the church. Tomorrow, McDonald I am seeing for the last time at a social distance. Seeing last time in the flesh for the foreseeable future. Anyway, because he is off home. And so tomorrow I will gaze at him in the flesh for one more time. Welcome on in, North Star. Sue Roberts, Timmy has to be anaesthetised tomorrow. I feel really anxious. What's happened to Timmy? That's bad. And was Timmy named after the famous 5 dog? All right, ladies and gentlemen, I have some announcements to make. The first announcement is about car park communion. If you are willing to join a team, to join a rota, and maybe do a car park communion help session, say once a month, maybe twice a month, for 2 hours on a Saturday, please let me know, because I am formulating teams. Then once I formulate teams, I will meet the teams and tell them what they need to do at car park communion and what they need to sign. And then we can put it on the church calendar so the teams know when it's their Saturday. So please put it in writing to me or Gillian that you are willing and able to help. Second big announcement, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Parker and Amin. Second announcement, ladies and gentlemen, is that because we slightly, and I just mean slightly, Diane, that's an illegitimate form of written communication, an email to myself or Gillian. If you do not know who Gillian is, I can introduce you. She is the church secretary. Ben Ricketts, that is an illegitimate form of response. Thank you very much. So, the second announcement is, I'm not sure if you've noticed, but we have slightly, and I just mean slightly, trickled over the 60-day mark. And what's happening is my family is sort of going on holiday, and I should probably go with them. So what's going to happen is, we, ladies and gentlemen, after much decision and analysing all the possible options, what we're going to do is take a break from the Bible Hour at the end of the Old Testament. We're going to take a break, ladies and gentlemen, from the Bible Hour at the end of the Old Testament. And then it's going to be a 1 month break. A 1 month break before we gather back and demolish the New Testament in about 3 days. So, ladies and gentlemen, I will say that again. In probably about 2 weeks-ish, which is when I think we're going to finish the Old Testament, we're going to take a break for 4 weeks. I'm not having a break from work for 4 weeks. I'm going to have a break for 2 weeks. But then Bible Hour, we'll take a break for 4 weeks. And then we're going to demolish the New Testament together. So, try to think back what you did with your life before you were Bible scholars in the 9 to 10 slot. Get back into the habit, only for 1 month, of reading it at different times of the day, or even this time of the day, but not on live stream. So, ladies and gentlemen, there is a gap coming for 1 month at the end of the Old Testament. There were lots of options. Set up the studio somewhere else, give it to someone else to do. That's a massive ordeal because it is a huge thing. All the equipment and learning the software to run a live stream. That was one option. Not many people in Park End Church have that equipment or ability just yet. Number 2, I take the equipment with me on holiday, but readers from Pembrokeshire, and I do not believe they have the internet there yet. What happens in 2020 arrives in Pembrokeshire 300 years later. So we're going to take a clean break. Rachel Freeman, Beaker could fill in. Sam Winnington, well done, Owen. You have been Amak corrected to Amaj. Okay, sounds like some sort of Old Testament God. We can have an end of Old Testament party and a welcome back party. We will come back refreshed. Have I fatigued you, Chris Henry? Sounded amazing. Ben Rickes, the same thing we used to do every night, Pinky. Try to take over the world. Hey, Ben, they're too old in this group to understand that reference, but I get it. How are we celebrating a break? We'll think of something. We got about 2 weeks to figure it out. Should we celebrate it by carrying on without a break? All right, ladies and gentlemen. Sue Roberts, that's an illegitimate form of communication. If you could put it in email to either myself or Gillian. But look, we've already basically formed team number 2. The last 3 books have finished Chris Henry off. Yeah, finished the Old Testament church off as well. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we've trickled over with those important announcements, but here we go. This is the word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. These are the judgments to the surrounding nations. A message for Ammon. Then this message came to me from the Lord. Son of man, turn and face the land of Ammon and prophesy against its people. Give the Ammonites this message from the sovereign Lord. Hear the word of the sovereign Lord. Because you cheered when my temple was defiled, mocked Israel in her desolation, and laughed at Judah as she went into exile, I will allow nomads from the eastern deserts to overrun your country. They will set up their camps among you and pitch their tents on your land. They will harvest all your fruit and drink the milk from your livestock. And I will turn the city of Rabbah into a pasture for camels, and all the land of the Ammonites into a resting place for sheep and goats. Then you will know that I am the Lord. This is what the sovereign Lord says. Because you clapped and danced and cheered with glee at the destruction of my people, I will raise my fist of judgment against you. I will give you as plunder to many nations. I will cut you off from being a nation and destroy you completely. Then you will know that I am the Lord. A message for Moab. This is what the sovereign Lord says. Because the people of Moab have said that Judah is just like all the other nations, I will open up their eastern flank and wipe out their glorious frontier towns, Beth Jeshimoth, Baal Meon, and Kiriathaim. And I will hand Moab over to nomads from the eastern deserts, just as I handed over Ammon. Yes, the Ammonites will be no longer counted among the nations. In the same way I will bring my judgment down on the Moabites. Then they will know that I am the Lord. A message for Edom. This is what the sovereign Lord says. The people of Edom have sinned greatly by avenging themselves against the people of Judah. Therefore, says the sovereign Lord, I will raise my fist of judgment against Edom. I will wipe out its people and animals with the sword. I will make a wasteland of everything from Taman to Dedan. I will accomplish this by the hand of my people Israel. They will carry out my vengeance with anger, and Edom will know that this vengeance is from me. I, the sovereign Lord, have spoken. A message for Philistia. This is what the sovereign Lord says. The people of Philistia have acted against Judah out of bitter revenge and long-standing contempt. Therefore, this is what the sovereign Lord says. I will raise my fist of judgment against the land of the Philistines, and I will wipe out the Kiriathites and utterly destroy the people who live by the sea with their fishy little smelly gods. Dagon, I added that bit. I will execute terrible vengeance against them to punish them for what they have done. And when I have inflicted my revenge, they will know that I am the Lord. Welcome on into the Bible Hour, ladies and gentlemen. It is Ezekiel 26, a message for Tyre. Now remember Tyre and the king of Tyre and the ruler of Tyre when we get to Ezekiel 28, because tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to spend some time thinking about the devil, Lucifer, the destroyer, Diablos, Satan, the deceiver, and his failed plots against Jesus. MacDonald in the house, that is some breaking news. Hi Sue, glad you are bouncing back. Hope it all goes well with Timmy. What's the matter with Timmy, Sue Roberts? What is the matter? May I remind chat that MacDonald still has 2 weeks left of Bible Hour chat. We may be sending him off a tad early. I am seeing him in the flesh for the last time tomorrow. You already did? Oh. Yeah, I saw that he's going to be anaesthetised. I was asking what's happened to him to bring that diagnosis upon him. Ezekiel chapter 26. On February 3rd, during the 12th year of King Jehoiachin's captivity, a message came to me from the Lord. Son of man, Tyre has rejoiced over the fall of Jerusalem, saying, Ha! She who was the gateway to the rich trade routes to the east has been broken, and I am the heir, because she has been made desolate. I will become wealthy. That's to Owen, communication and offering help. I'm lost. Therefore, this is what the sovereign Lord says, I am your enemy, O Tyre, and I will bring many nations against you, like the waves of the sea crashing against your shoreline. They will destroy the walls of Tyre and tear down its towers. I will scrape away its soil and make it a bare rock. It will be just a rock in the sea, a place for fishermen to spread their nets. For I have spoken, says the sovereign Lord. Tyre will become a prey of many nations, and its mainland villages will be destroyed by the sword. Then they will know that I am the Lord. This is what the sovereign Lord says. From the north I will bring King Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon against Tyre. He is the king of kings and brings his horses, chariots, charioteers, and great army. First, he will destroy your mainland villages. Then he will attack you by building a siege wall, constructing a ramp, and raising a roof of shields against you. He will pound your walls with battering rams and demolish your towers with sledgehammers. The hooves of his horses will choke the city with dust, and the noise of the charioteers and chariot wheels will shake your walls as they storm through your broken gates. His horsemen will trample through every street in the city. They will butcher your people, and your strong pillars will topple. They will plunder all your riches and merchandise and break down your walls. They will destroy your lovely homes and dump your stones and timbers and even your dust into the sea. I will stop the music of your songs. No more will the sound of harps be heard among your people. I will make your island a bare rock, a place for fishermen to spread their nets. You will never be rebuilt, for I, the Lord, have spoken. Yes, the sovereign Lord has spoken. The effect of Tyre's destruction. This is what the Lord says to Tyre. The whole coastline will tremble at the sound of your fall, as the screams of the wounded echo in the continuing slaughter. All the seaport rulers will step down from their thrones and take off their royal robes and beautiful clothing. They will sit on the ground trembling with horror at your destruction. Then they will wail for you, singing this funeral song. O famous island city, once ruler of the sea, how you have been destroyed. Your people with their naval power once spread fear around the world. Now the coastlands tremble at your fall. The islands are dismayed as you disappear. This is what the sovereign Lord says. I will make Tyre an uninhabited ruin like many others. I will bury you beneath the terrible waves of enemy attack. Great seas will swallow you. I will send you to the pit to join those who descended there long ago. Your city will lie in ruins, buried beneath the earth, like those in the pit who have entered the world of the dead. You have no place of respect here in the land of the living. I will bring you to a terrible end, and you will exist no more. You will be looked for, but you will never again be found. I, the sovereign Lord, have spoken. The end of Tyre's glory. Chapter 27. Then this message came to me from the Lord, Son of Man. Sing a funeral song for Tyre. That's probably A minor, isn't it? With the Treorchy male voice choir singing. Then might that Son of Man sing a funeral song for Tyre, that mighty gateway to the sea, that trading centre of the world. Give Tyre this message from the sovereign Lord. You boasted, O Tyre, my beauty is perfect. You extended your boundaries into the sea. Your builders made your beauty perfect. You were like a great ship, built of the finest cypress from Senir. They took a cedar from Lebanon and made a mast for you. They carved your oars from the oaks of Bashan. Your deck of pine from the coasts of Cyprus was inlaid with ivory. Your sails were made of Egypt's finest linen, and they flew as a banner above you. You stood beneath blue and purple awnings, made bright with dyes from the coasts of Elisha. Your oarsmen came from Sidon and Arvad. Your helmsmen were skilled men from Tyre itself. Wise old craftsmen from Gebel did the caulking. Ships from every land came with goods to barter for your trade. Men from distant Persia, Lydia, Libya served in your great army. They hung their shields and helmets on your walls, giving you great honour. Men from Arvad and Helek, that's Helek, not Halek, stood on your walls. Your towers were manned by men from Gamad. Their shields hung on your walls, completing your beauty. Tarshish sent merchants to buy your wares in exchange for silver, iron, tin, and lead. Merchants from Greece, Tubal, and Meshech brought slaves and articles of bronze to trade with you. From Beth Togarmah came riding horses, chariot horses, and mules, all in exchange for your goods. Merchants came to you from Dedan. Numerous coastlands were your captive markets. They brought payments in ivory tusks and ebony wood. Syria sent merchants to buy your rich variety of goods. They traded turquoise, purple, dyes, embroidery, fine linen, and jewellery of coral and rubies. Judah and Israel traded for your wares, offering wheat from Minnith, figs, honey, olive oil, and balm. Hey, we're getting it, man. It was a prosperous place. Damascus sent merchants to buy your rich variety of goods, bringing wine from Helbon and white wool from Zahar. Greeks from Uzal came to trade for your merchandise. Wrought iron, cassia, and fragrant calamus were bartered for your wares. Dedan sent merchants to trade their expensive saddle blankets with you. The Arabians and the princes of Kedar sent merchants to trade lambs and rams and male goats in exchange for your goods. I see where this is going, but they don't have Jesus. That's the problem. Bible Hour do have loads of stuff, but not Jesus. Haran, Canaan, Eden, Sheba, Ashur, Kalmad came with their merchandise too. They brought choice fabrics to trade, blue cloth, embroidery, and multicoloured carpets rolled up and bound with cords. The ships of Tarshish were your ocean caravans. Your island warehouse was filled to the brim. But look, your oarsmen have taken you into stormy seas. A mighty eastern gale has wrecked you in the heart of the sea. Everything is lost. Your riches and wares, your sailors and pilots, your shipbuilders, merchants and warriors. On the day of your ruin, everyone on board sinks into the depths of the sea. Your cities by the sea tremble as your pilots cry out in terror. All the oarsmen abandon their ships. The sailors and pilots stand on the shore. They cry aloud over you and weep bitterly. They throw dust on their heads and roll in ashes. They shave their heads in grief for you and dress themselves in burlap. They weep for you with bitter anguish and deep mourning. As they wail and mourn over you, they sing this sad funeral song. Was there ever such a city as Tyre, now silent at the bottom of the sea? The merchandise you traded satisfied the desires of many nations. Kings at the ends of the earth were enriched by your trade. Now you are a wrecked ship, broken at the bottom of the sea. All your merchandise and crew have gone down with you. All who live along coastlands are appalled by your terrible fate. Their kings are filled with horror and look on with twisted faces. The merchants among the nations shake their heads at the sight of you, for you have come to a horrible end and will exist no more. And ladies and gentlemen, that brings us now to a message for the king of Tyre. And I got a few things to say. Okay, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to read the whole chapter, and then I'm going to pull up a bit at certain places to discuss a bit of demonology. I will say this at the start. Some commentators are split on this. I think the ones that don't agree with what I'm going to say are wrong. Not because they're disagreeing with me, but because their reasons for disagreeing with me aren't very good. And they end up saying, oh, well, I suppose even if it's not the devil and just an earthly power, but the devil's sort of behind earthly powers anyway, so it's sort of the devil anyway. And it's like, shut up. Okay, here we go. Ezekiel 28. A message for Tyre's king. Ladies and gentlemen, pay attention. Then this message came to me from the Lord. Son of man, give the prince of Tyre this message from the sovereign Lord. In your great pride you claim, I am God. I sit on a divine throne in the heart of the sea. But you are only a man and not a god, though you boast that you are a god. You regard yourself as wiser than Daniel and think no secret is hidden from you. With your wisdom and understanding you have amassed great wealth, gold and silver for your treasuries. Yes, your wisdom has made you very rich, and your riches have made you very proud. Because you think you are as wise as a god, I will now bring against you a foreign army, the terror of the nations. They will draw their swords against your marvelous wisdom and defile your splendor. They will bring you down to the pit, and you will die in the heart of the sea, pierced with many wounds. Will you then boast, I am a god, to those who kill you? To them you will be no god, but merely a man. You will die like an outcast at the hands of foreigners. I, the sovereign Lord, have spoken. Then this further message came to me from the Lord. Son of man, sing this funeral song for the king of Tyre. Give him this message from the sovereign Lord. You were the model of perfection, full of wisdom and exquisite in beauty. You were in Eden, the garden of God. Your clothing was adorned with every precious stone, red carnelian, pale green peridot, white moonstone, blue and green beryl, onyx, green jasper, blue lapis lazuli, turquoise and emerald, all fully crafted for you, and set in the finest gold. They were given to you on the day you were created. I ordained and anointed you as the mighty angelic guardian. You had access to the holy mountain of God, and you walked among the stones of fire. You were blameless in all you did from the day you were created until the day evil was found in you. Your rich commerce led you to violence, and you sinned. So I banished you in disgrace from the mountain of God. I expelled you, O mighty guardian, from your place among the stones of fire. Your heart was filled with pride because of your beauty. Your wisdom was corrupted by your love of splendor. So I threw you to the ground and exposed you to the curious gaze of kings. You defiled your sanctuaries with your many sins and your dishonest trade. So I brought fire out from within you, and it consumed you. I reduced you to ashes on the ground, in the sight of all who were watching. All who knew you are appalled at your fate. All who knew you, are appalled at your fate. You have come to a terrible end, and you will exist no more. I'll read to the end, then we'll take the halfway break, and then I'll speak. A message for Sidon. Then another message came to me from the Lord. Son of man, turn and face the city of Sidon and prophesy against it. Give the people of Sidon this message from the sovereign Lord. I am your enemy, O Sidon, and I will reveal my glory by what I do to you. When I bring judgment against you and reveal my holiness among you, everyone watching will know that I am the Lord. I will send a plague against you, and blood will be spilled in your streets. The attack will come from every direction, and your people will lie slaughtered within your walls. Then everyone will know that I am the Lord. No longer will Israel's scornful neighbors prick and tear at her like briars and thorns, for they will know that I am the sovereign Lord. This is what the sovereign Lord says. The people of Israel will again live in their own land, the land I gave to my servant Jacob. For I will gather them from the distant lands where I have scattered them. I will reveal to the nations of the world my holiness among my people. They will live safely in Israel and build homes and plant vineyards. And when I punish the neighboring nations that treated them with contempt, they will know that I am the Lord their God. Ladies and gentlemen, take 107. That is 7 seconds. Go and boil an egg. And we'll be right back to discuss Ezekiel chapter 28. Oh, and before that, I thought of something when I was eating my tea today that I should have said to that dude who asked a good question yesterday about if God wants me to be happy, why basically can't I do what I like? Here's the last thing on that. To elevate human happiness as the thing that should justify us to live in any way we want is very dangerous. To elevate human happiness as the highest axiom to be achieved for us and to access true life is really dangerous, because as fallen people, the things that make us happy, not good. The things that make some people maximally happy and that they want to pursue, they should not pursue, because it's like dark. But the problem is, if we do make the law, human happiness is what God should be pushing us towards, then you can't put the brakes on, because what makes some people happy is just evil. And then, though, people would be like, no. You see, it has to be human happiness as long as it's harmless in some general way. Well, the problem there is defining what's harmful and harmless is a minefield in and of itself. And there's a spectrum there established by even the pro-be happiness people. And they would say, you could be happy and God should let me be happy as long as, and then they all put a mark on the spectrum, and anything the other side of the spectrum, those who want to pursue happiness that way shouldn't be allowed. So it's like, dude, that's exactly what God does. He just puts the lines somewhere that you're not happy with. Follow Jesus and you'll be happy. Trust Jesus when he says, don't do this in your life. That's his mark. So everyone's got a mark. Food for thought, at least. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, now that you have sufficiently half-boiled an egg, just pluck it out the water, it'll be alright. Because I would just want to take a bit of time on Ezekiel 28. So, I got an article here that I just agree with, and I'm just going to read parts from it. I agree with it, I've added a bit or two to it. Let's think about the devil and his work a minute. How did Adam and Eve come to reject the gospel of Jesus? Well, they were encouraged in their wickedness by the deceiver Satan. However, some have taken this to mean that God placed Adam and Eve at the mercy of his totally evil adversary, and that God was dumping the problem on Adam and Eve, that they were not ready or able to deal with it. Also, as well as that thought, it's been really common to speak as if, and this is controversial now because you probably have heard this and never really questioned it. It's become really popular in modern church and in the West to speak as if the first sin was committed by Satan in an angelic rebellion that occurred long before the creation of the universe. For example, we believe Satan was created perfect. He was a cherub called Lucifer in the original creation, and because of his pride, he rebelled against God and became the author of sin. After the recreation of heaven and earth, he appeared as an angel of light to Eve in the Garden of Eden and tempted her to willfully disobey God's command, resulting in the fall of man. You've heard it, you've probably said it. We believe he was then cursed and then henceforth referred to as the serpent or the dragon. However, let's check out Ezekiel again. 28, verse 12 onwards. Before I read it, we're going to learn more about Satan before the fall. And for those who think it's just about Tyre, it's clearly not. Some people think this is just about the earthly king of Tyre, but verses 1 to 10 seem to be addressed to the earthly ruler of Tyre. All the statements made against the ruler of Tyre can fit an ordinary ruler, but none of the statements made about... Yeah, so there's the ruler of Tyre in the first bit. All right. Okay. But then in the bit we're going to read now, there's the king of Tyre. And none of the statements of the king of Tyre fit an ordinary human. In fact, he is described in verse 14 as a guardian cherub. So what do we learn about Satan if we're taking this as a prophecy of him? Now what I'm going to do now is get the King James Version up, because there's something really important in the KJV. King James Version, Ezekiel 18. You put the I and the E the wrong way around in Ezekiel. Yes. Right, hold on. Let me just find a really important verse. Bear with me. Oh, I've put 18 in. That's why I'm reading the complete and utter wrong chapter. Right, I'm at the right chapter. I'm with you now, Bible Hour. Okay, got it. Right. So, What do we learn? Verse 12. He was the model of perfection, full of wisdom and perfect in beauty. Okay? That's what verse 12 says. Full of wisdom, perfect in beauty. Verse 13. He was in the Garden of Eden, clothed with every kind of precious stone. Verse 14. His job was to be a guardian cherub, presumably looking after Adam and Eve. He had access to the holy mount, the place of the Father's dwelling. Verse 15. He was created blameless. There was nothing about his creation that was at all faulty or suspect. The reason for his sin cannot be found in his creation, but nevertheless, wickedness was found in him. But where did it come from? What had happened? Verse 16, therefore, the following verses talk of trade or business, and this only fits with Satan by analogy. But through Satan's widespread business, he fell into sin and was expelled from the presence of the Father. But Owen, when did this business thing happen, and what was it? All right. 17 to 19. Satan's biggest problem had been pride. Instead of his heart overflowing with gratitude for all that he had been graciously given in creation, Satan made himself proud. Oh, and why are you going into all this? Because there's an enemy of the church, and we need to understand him. Because of his pride, his wisdom became corrupt. Presumably, he became crafty rather than wise. So Satan was exiled from heaven to earth so that even human kings will have better prospects than him. He has become a symbol of contempt and wretchedness rather than an object of praise and admiration. Only the insanely evil self-consciously nutcases admire Satan now. Let me just interlude there, because part of his wisdom, and I think it's only the King James which picks this up, in verse 13 in the KJV, the last bit, the workmanship of thy tabrets and of thy pipes was prepared in thee in the day that thou wast created. Basically, the KJV says Satan was in charge of music. No other version, I don't think, picks up on that. So it's like, if you ever wondered why music is so powerful and can so often bring out the worst in people, because I don't think there's a fallen creature that knows how to use music quite like Satan, the deceiver, Lucifer, who basically was in charge of the band in heaven. That's a fascinating, but that's by the by. Marcus on Sunday mentioned Isaiah 14. There you get the name of Satan. His name was Lucifer. Isaiah was given a long prophecy against the nation and the empire of Babylon, and then in 14 verse 4, he takes up a taunt against the evil power behind the Babylonian empire, Satan. And there the Lord taunts him, and he says, you said in your heart, Satan, I will ascend to heaven. I will raise my throne above the stars of God. I will sit enthroned on the mount of assembly on the utmost heights of the sacred mountain. I will ascend above the tops of the clouds. I will make myself like the Most High. There's the important thing again, because it's a clear resemblance to the way that Satan spoke to Eve. He tells her to eat of the tree of knowledge in order that humanity can be like the Lord. Eve is a little nervous about the threat of death, but Satan tells her not to worry about what Jesus has said. And then this happens. You will not surely die, the serpent said to the woman, for God knows that when you eat of it, your eyes will be opened. You'll ascend. You will be like God, knowing good and evil. So the question then is, when did this fall? Was Satan evil before Genesis chapter 3? So now we've got Ezekiel 28 and Isaiah 14 in mind. Or did he fall at the same time as Eve? And I'm among a group of people that are bucking the modern trend here. With Ezekiel 28 in mind, it seems that when he was in the Garden of Eden, he was still perfect and blameless. You just read that in Ezekiel. Surely then, the moment when wickedness was found in him was in Genesis 3 verse 14. That is when the Lord curses him to live on the earth, casting him out of heaven. That's why Jesus makes it even clear in John 8:44 when he says, "You belong to your father the devil, and you want to carry out your father's desire." He was a murderer from the beginning, not holding to the truth, for there was no truth in him. When he lies, he speaks his native language, for he is a liar and the father of lies. So, ladies and gentlemen, the enemy of the church is a liar and a murderer from the beginning. If his initial sin had been some kind of heavenly rebellion before the creation of the world, then he would have been a rebel or a proud malcontent from the beginning. But no, Jesus singles out his lying and murdering as his initial sins, when he lied to Eve and he murdered the human race. The interesting point comes out in Romans chapter 5 that we're going to see, when we see that without a commandment, there is no sin. You can't break a law that hasn't been given. The only commandment given was to Adam and Eve at that time. So sin could only become actual and real if they disobeyed their command. Until they actually ate of the fruit, sin was just a looming danger, an impending threat. Even while Eve was beginning to doubt Jesus Christ, even while Satan was effectively painting Jesus as a liar, even then it was possible to turn back to Jesus and cling to faith in him. Sin only becomes a concrete reality when the fruit is eaten. Satan can fall only on the back of humanity. Even in his fall, he is parasitic upon humanity. Ladies and gentlemen, that liberates us from the nonsense of worrying about some prehistoric cosmic fall. If God had created us and left us to be victims of some immensely powerful evil demon, it would not seem fair. But this is not what happened. Humanity and the devil fell together. It was a joint decision. We joined up with Satan in giving birth to sin. The Lord left humanity and Lucifer to decide together what they would do. Why did Jesus allow this? The Bible doesn't tell us, but it seems that he trusted Adam and Eve to believe what he had told them. Christ had given them all they needed, not just physically, but also spiritually. He told them of the dangers of evil, and now comes the test. Could these first two humans do what was right? Would they reject evil and hold fast to Jesus? So to wrap this sort of section up, the devil begins with this innocent question, did God say? So often we go down the path of sin of, did God really say? He's being really harsh there. And God's laws seem much more harsh than they are. And we forget that they're for our good. That's the devil's opening way in. If Eve could not truthfully report what God had said, then perhaps she could be tempted into disbelieving what he had said completely. So he does what Hitler later discovered. The bigger the lie, the more likely the people are to believe it. And he simply calls God a liar. Of course you won't die. God is trying to selfishly keep superiority over you. If you eat of the tree, you can actually be like God. You will know good and evil in the way that he does. But Adam and Eve already knew all they needed to know about good and evil. They knew that evil brought death and goodness meant life in peace. However, Eve was well on the way to evil. And the rest, ladies and gentlemen, is history. She decided the devil was right and God was wrong, and she went his way. And Adam needed even less convincing. So they had become evil. They were ashamed of themselves. They couldn't stand each other's presence now. They realized each other were naked. And no sooner had they thrown some leaves on than Jesus arrived for his evening walk in the garden. He had come to enjoy fellowship with his image bearers, realizing the wickedness of their actions. Adam and Eve hid from him among the bushes. The Lord, of course, knew where they were and what they had done, but he called out, "Adam, where are you?" He wanted Adam to come out and confess his guilt, to admit what he had done. But they rushed out of their hiding. If they rushed out of their hiding, and if they fell at his feet and confessed their sins, putting their trust in him, he would have dealt with the problem right away. But deceit, distrust, cowardice, shame had already been sprouting from the bad tree that humanity had become. Adam blames Eve. Eve blames the serpent, and they are already now acting like the father of lies. Jesus doesn't question the serpent. He has no time for Satan, doesn't give an opportunity to explain his treachery. In his curses upon the serpent, though, he proclaims the gospel message. He immediately prophesies his own birth and death, which he had prepared before the foundation of the world. Ladies and gentlemen, I laboured that point because it's important. And now, take one last break as we head in to the final chunk of today's Bible hour, where attention now turns to Egypt, that great sea monster. Ezekiel 29, after a 30-second break. If anybody's still awake. The musicians in the group are like, "Sheesh, man, I better start praying when I play my musical instruments so they get used for good. Music's a mighty tool for good as well." Chris Henry, fascinating. And one day we'll do a massive session on Adam and Eve. Were they historical figures? How to handle the first couple of chapters with Genesis 1 to 3. And Dominic White's in the house. You need to do that bit about music as a clip. What, that tiny little bit? That like 30-second bit in that half an hour rant? That was the only bit for you, was it, Don White? Thank you very much. Means a lot. Don White is in Calvary Baptist Church, Ogmore Vale at the moment, working there and possibly also in another church just around the corner. Good friend of mine. All right, ladies and gentlemen, Ezekiel 29. Right, hold on. Let me just say. Dom says clip music bit. Roger. On January 7th, during the 10th year of King Jehoiachin's captivity, this message came to me from the Lord. Son of man, turn and face Egypt, and prophesy against Pharaoh, the king, and all the people of Egypt. Give them this message from the sovereign Lord. I am your enemy, O Pharaoh, king of Egypt, you great monster, lurking in the streams of the Nile. For you have said, the Nile river is mine, I made it for myself. I will put hooks in your jaws and drag you out on the land, with fish sticking to your scales. North Star worries me when I hear dirge-like music. Dirge-like music all the time in churches. We need joyful, hopeful, like Park Ends. Hey, Park End. We got an array of talented musicians in Park End. I will leave you and all your fish stranded in the wilderness to die. You will lie unburied in the open ground, for I have given you as food to the wild animals and birds. All the people of Egypt will know that I am the Lord. For to Israel you were just a staff made of reeds. When Israel leaned on you, you splintered and broke, and stabbed her in the armpit. But she put her weight on you. When she put her weight on you, you collapsed, and her legs gave way. Therefore, this is what the sovereign Lord says. I will bring an army against you, O Egypt, and destroy both people and animals. The land of Egypt will become a desolate wasteland, and the Egyptians will know that I am the Lord. Because you said, the Nile river is mine, I made it. I am now the enemy of both you and your river. I will make the land of Egypt a totally desolate wasteland, from Migdol to Aswan, as far south as the border of Ethiopia. For 40 years not a soul will pass that way, neither people nor animals. It will be completely uninhabited. I will make Egypt desolate, and it will be surrounded by other desolate nations. Its cities will be empty and desolate for 40 years, surrounded by other ruined cities. I will scatter the Egyptians to dissonance. 40 years, of course, like a generation in the Bible. Also the time in the wilderness. This is what the sovereign Lord says. At the end of 40 years, I will bring the Egyptians home again from the nations to which they have been scattered. I will restore the prosperity of Egypt and bring its people back to the land of Pathros in southern Egypt, from which they came. But Egypt will remain an unimportant minor kingdom. It will be the lowliest of all the nations, never again great enough to rise above its neighbours. Then Israel will no longer be tempted to trust in Egypt for help. Egypt's shattered condition will remind Israel how sinful she was to trust Egypt in early days. Then Israel will know that I am the sovereign Lord. On April 26th, the first day of the new year, during the 27th year of King Jehoiachin's captivity, this message came to me from the Lord. Son of man, the army of King Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon fought so hard against Tyre that the warriors' heads were rubbed bare and their shoulders were raw and blistered. Yet Nebuchadnezzar and his army won no plunder to compensate for all their work. Therefore, this is what the sovereign Lord says, I will give the land of Egypt to Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon. He will carry off its wealth, plundering everything it has, so he can pay his army. Yes, I have given him the land of Egypt as a reward for his work, says the sovereign Lord, because he was working for me when he destroyed Tyre. And the day will come when I will cause the ancient glory of Israel to revive. And then, Ezekiel, your words will be respected. Then they will know that I am the Lord. Ben Ricketts, well, that's next week's song cancelled. Oh yeah, Ben Ricketts is doing a song next week, North Star. You're not cancelling that one, Ben Ricketts. A sad day for Egypt. This is another message that came to me from the Lord. Son of man, prophesy and give this message from the sovereign Lord. Weep and wail for that day. For the terrible day is almost here, the day of the Lord. It is a day of clouds and gloom, a day of despair for the nations. A sword will come against Egypt, and those who are slaughtered will cover the ground. Its wealth will be carried away and its foundations destroyed. The land of Ethiopia will be ravished. Ethiopia, Libya, Lydia, and Arabia, and all their other allies will be destroyed in that war. For this is what the sovereign Lord says. All of Egypt's allies will fall, and the pride of her power will end. From Migdol to Aswan they will be slaughtered by the sword, says the sovereign Lord. Egypt will be desolate, surrounded by desolate nations, and its cities will be in ruins, surrounded by other ruined cities. And the people of Egypt will know that I am the Lord when I have set Egypt on fire and destroyed all their allies. Ladies and gentlemen, don't lose perspective here. We've had a lot of prophetic books in a row, all saying church will get judged for its sin, trust in Jesus, the surrounding nations are going to be judged for their sins for hating Jesus. That's it. Keep that perspective. It's all about church and Jesus. At the time I will send swift messengers in ships to terrify the complacent Ethiopians. Great panic will come upon them on the day of Egypt's certain destruction. Watch for it. It is sure to come. For this is what the sovereign Lord says. By the power of King Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon, I will destroy the hordes of Egypt. He and his armies, the most ruthless of all, will be sent to demolish the land. They will make war against Egypt until slaughtered Egyptians cover the ground. I will dry up the Nile River and sell the land to wicked men. I will destroy the land of Egypt and everything in it by the hands of foreigners. I, the Lord, have spoken. This is what the sovereign Lord says. I will smash the idols of Egypt and the images at Memphis. There will be no rulers left in Egypt. Terror will sweep the land. I will destroy southern Egypt, set fire to Zoan, and bring judgment against Thebes. I will pour out my fury on Pelusium, the strongest fortress of Egypt, and I will stamp out the hordes of Thebes. Yes, I will set fire to all Egypt. Pelusium will be racked with pain. Thebes will be torn apart. Memphis will live in constant terror. The young men of Heliopolis and Bubastis will die in battle, and the women will be taken away as slaves. When I come to break the proud strength of Egypt, it will be a dark day for Tahpanhes too. A dark cloud will cover Tahpanhes, and its daughters will be led away as captives, and so I will greatly punish Egypt, and they will know that I am the Lord. Ladies and gentlemen, the time has gone. We laboured the point against the enemy of church. We have learned tonight to trust in the Lord Jesus, for he is good. And we trust in the Passover Lamb, that the judgment we deserve will not fall on us, but onto him. And in him our death is swallowed up in victory. Ladies and gentlemen, God willing, we will be back tomorrow night to finish Ezekiel and all the New Testament in one night. I reckon. Ladies and gentlemen, until then.